Nigel Farage just delivered a massive reality check to Keir Starmer over his weak foreign policy, exposed a massive Labour spy scandal, and absolutely destroyed a screeching Heckler. Let's watch, and then I'll react.
Good morning, Reform Wales. Well, it's a big day for us, and it's a big day in this campaign. But before I talk about Wales, before I talk about Dan Thomas, before I talk about our manifesto, I think I might just spend a couple of minutes on international affairs and the current standing of the United Kingdom in the world and its Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. I generally am somebody who is very, very deeply nervous of getting involved in foreign wars. The worry, of course, always is, what is the end game? What is the getting out strategy? And we've had far too much of that over the course of the last quarter of a century. But there is something fundamentally different when it comes to Iran. Gaddafi, Saddam, all these leaders, bad though they may have been, did not pose a direct threat to us, whatever the Labour Prime Minister of the day said. But Iran is very, very different, and I would argue that their funding of Hamas and other terrorist organisations since October the 7th, a couple of years back, has actually fundamentally changed much in our own country, including politics, where we now see sectarian voting, where we now see third world style election rigging, as we saw in Gorton and Denton just a few days ago. But that is nothing compared with the fact that the Iranian regime, aided and abetted by President Obama, the European Union, the British Foreign Office, Boris Johnson when he was Foreign Secretary, what we did was to appease Iran, to free up tens of billions of dollars with which they funded Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, their attempt to spread global terrorism. And they are desperate and in a hurry to build a nuclear weapon. And if there was one big justifiable reason why we should have supported the Americans and supported the Israelis on day one, if this war stops Iran getting a nuclear bomb, it will have been worth it. But what did our Prime Minister do? He said to the Americans, you cannot use military bases in the United Kingdom and you can't use Diego Garcia. It's funny, isn't it? All roads lead back to that dreadful Chagos deal. And then the Americans and Israelis did what they did. And then he said, not me, Gov. We're not involved. But we will put fighter jets into the sky in a defensive capacity. Quite how a fighter jet is defensive, I've never personally quite worked out. And now we learn that Ed Miliband led the sort of left-wing revolt in cabinet. And now we find ourselves humiliated. What was for centuries the greatest naval nation on earth is now unable for up to a fortnight to send a Type 45 to Cyprus to defend, and remember this, British sovereign territory. British sovereign territory, with hundreds and hundreds of British people there working and their families. So we've managed to upset the Cypriots. We've managed to upset the Americans. We've managed to upset the UAE, Bahrain, and all the other Gulf states that are on our side. And now, even Spain, who said they'd have nothing to do with any of it, have this morning sent a destroyer to help defend Cyprus and help defend our base. So we're being defended by the Spanish, defended by the French, defended by the Greeks, and incapable of defending ourselves. Yes, I know that the last British government ran down our armed forces in a virtually criminal way. But it didn't take a rocket scientist to work out that America was going to attack Iran. It's been flagged for weeks. And yet we have a Prime Minister incapable of making a decision, dithering, pathetic in his response almost to everything. And I'm guessing it's because Morgan McSweeney has gone. You see, Morgan McSweeney would give our Prime Minister, McSweeney would give him a sheet of paper and he'd stand up at a press conference or at the Commons and just read it out. With McSweeney gone, we see the naked truth, that our Prime Minister is a follower and not a leader, that he and our reputation on the world stage is frankly going down the drain, and the sooner they're gone and out of office, the better it'll be for everybody. But the international dimension continues into Welsh politics. Now, it is true that a former senior figure, albeit very briefly in the party from Reform Wales, did take foreign money, and he's in prison, as he should be. As he should be. But from Labour, we have had the moral high ground. Oh, yes. Don't vote for reform. They could be in the pay of a foreign government. And yesterday we learned that David Taylor married to a Labour MP. Matthew Applin, who used to work for Labour in the Senate, and Stephen Jones, special advisor formerly to Labour First Minister Carwyn Jones and worked under Tony Blair in Westminster, have all been arrested on suspicion of spying for the Chinese Communist Party. The corruption within Labour from the Chinese Communist Party runs deep, so we will not hear in this campaign another word of condemnation or criticism from the hypocrites in the Welsh Labour Party. Now, I am very proud of the way our party has developed in Wales over the course of the last 20 months. And today really kickstarts our campaign for May the 7th. Today is the launch of this document. It's our Welsh manifesto for May the 7th, and I commend it to all of you. Now, would you like me to run through the key points? Well, I'm not going to, because that's not my job. No, far from being the one-man band that much of the national media will tell you that we are, we're growing and we're developing our own leaders. And here in Wales, I'm very, very pleased to say that Dan Thomas is proving an excellent leader of our party in Wales. He is, in my opinion, more than capable. More than capable. He is more than capable, certainly far more capable than many First Ministers that you've had in Wales over the last 26 years of failure. And this document, this is not just the document of a party looking to make a splash. Not just the document of a party looking to get a handful of people elected. Oh, sorry, darling, you're having a rough morning. Did you get out the wrong side of the bed? It's all right. That's all right. You always get the odd screamer at these events. It's all right, you can go back to work. Go back to work. Well, I did say to her, go back to work, but of course, she hasn't got a job, has she? But it's okay, and we can expect much more of that, because there are many fearful of just how well we could do in these elections here in Wales. And you know, it'll be a defining election, not just for Wales, not just for us, but for the Prime Minister.
Wow. Classic Nigel Farage. He just completely dismantled Keir Starmer's leadership and then mopped the floor with a heckler for good measure. Let's start with the sheer global humiliation that Starmer has brought upon the UK. Farage nailed it when he pointed out that while America and Israel are actually standing up to Iran, a regime actively funding global terrorism and desperate for a nuclear weapon, Starmer is busy dithering. He literally told our closest allies, you cannot use military bases in the United Kingdom and you can't use Diego Garcia. And then, after the strikes happen, Starmer pulls a cowardly, not me, Governor. We're not involved. Are you kidding me? We have British sovereign territory in Cyprus. And as Farage brilliantly highlighted, the UK is now being defended by the Spanish, defended by the French, defended by the Greeks, and incapable of defending ourselves. It's beyond embarrassing. It's like being the captain of a sinking ship and refusing to use a bucket because you haven't done a risk assessment yet. Farage said it perfectly. Without Morgan McSweeney handing him a script, the naked truth is that Starmer is a follower and not a leader. But it gets even worse for Labour. Farage brought up a massive scandal that the mainstream media is trying desperately to ignore. Labour politicians love to sit on their moral high horse and accuse everyone else of foreign interference. Yet, as Farage pointed out, we now have people tied to Welsh Labour, former First Ministers, and Tony Blair's old team arrested on suspicion of spying for the Chinese Communist Party. The corruption within Labour from the Chinese Communist Party runs deep, he said. It's pure, unadulterated projection. They accuse reform of being compromised, while they literally have alleged CCP spies operating in their inner circles. And then, of course, we get to the absolute gold of this clip. The screeching heckler. These left-wing activists always show up to throw a tantrum because they have no actual arguments left. Farage didn't even flinch. He just smiles and goes, "Oh, sorry, darling, you're having a rough morning. Did you get out the wrong side of the bed?" And then he delivers the absolute kill shot. Go back to work. But of course, she hasn't got a job, has she? Absolute savage. It perfectly sums up the modern radical left, screaming, jobless, and completely detached from the working class people they pretend to represent. What do you guys think? Is Keir Starmer making the UK a laughingstock on the world stage? And was that the best Heckler takedown of the year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this breakdown.